Okay, we are plugged in and ready to rumble, entering the Matrix today, and it's Sunday the 11th of June, 2017. And as always, this is all the podcasts, everything I do is all up on crazzfiles.com, C-R-A-Z-Z, crazzfiles.com, putting a lot of links and videos, podcasts, links to iTunes, if you want to get it there, and Facebook, have a look. So we're ready to go today. I've got a great podcast with Wayne Bush, regular guest, and Jim West is plugged in with me as usual. So great to have you back again, Wayne. Had you on not long ago, actually. Did a great show. It was really popular.
A month ago,
Yeah, we went over a lot of stuff, and I mentioned then we'll do some more and just plug in for an hour and catch up with you on current events, especially all these terror attacks happening, so-called terrorist attacks, which I wanted your opinion on, and it's a good dynamic. And Jim West, how you going, buddy, over there in New York?
Doing great. Good to hear you guys.
Plugged in all right. And Wayne, you're, of course, in Texas.
Yeah, I'm in Austin. Yeah. So, pretty nice here, weather-wise.
Alex Jones country.
Oh, yeah.
He's popular over there, isn't he? Yeah, popular
Natural
radio.
News.
Oh, let's
also,
say,
Natural News is around there, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mike Adams.
Mike Adams. Yeah, he's linked up with those guys. Yeah, Austin,
Raymond.
Texas. Yeah, wow.
Raymond,
That'd be it's a place to visit, Wayne, if I ever get over there. Austin,
Sure.
Texas. Yeah, we've been dying to
have a good time.
to do a trip. If we do, we'll stop in and meet everybody, say hello.
Well, that would be fun. That would be a great time.
I won't get you too drunk.
I'm a lightweight. It wouldn't take much.
Yeah, ignore us crazy Australians. They're all a bit mad over here.
Drinking under the table.
Oh, jeez. Just get your website up, so I've got that.
Okay.
I was, there's always so much to cover, Wayne, but actually I'll get my article up. Why not before we start? Because I know there's some things you wanted to go into. Have you been monitoring the these attacks in London? Have you been looking into that? Jim and I were discussing this because, you know, in a large way they do seem a bit fake or staged. You know, you got to watch these sort of things. I put up a video on Crazz Files where it actually showed that, you know, right around when this this bridge attack happened, the police were all changing uniforms, and there was one policeman in particular putting on camouflage pants and a top. He had like a reddish beard and hair. And he was one of the terrorists they supposedly killed. He looks very similar anyway, so there's a lot of weird things going on there, but I put up an article on our website just writing about this and, you know, about the fear of it all. Because it's hard to go into these attacks, you know, because you're in America, I'm in Australia, it's happening in London area. And, but Jim said on the last show we would sort of suspect that it's all pretty false flag sort of stuff going on there, you know, and they're already talking about, you know, controlling the internet, and they've got permanent military on the streets over there. It's pretty scary, actually, if you're a British citizen over in those areas. But these terror attacks, you know, have me looking pretty deeply into it, especially this One Love concert in Manchester they had right after it, which is very peculiar to me. You know, as I said in the article, 1 minute it's terror and blood and people getting stabbed and all this stuff, you know, and the media are pumping out all the fear, and the next minute they're having this concert with all these clearly brainwashed, you know, celebrities, you know, Miley Cyrus and all these people are up there on stage with getting their gear off, you know, and all these kids are chanting and cheering right after these terrible events are taking place, you know, and Katy Perry's there, and it just really amazed me. So I wrote an article, it's up on Crazz Files, I called it Fear, Terror, Entertainment, Love. You know, and that's what I feel like it is, and I feel like it's a mass sort of fear-based mind control going on, especially with the younger generations who are growing up with this over there now. I mean, if you were over in these areas in London, you wouldn't even be comfortable having a coffee or going anywhere. You're always looking over your shoulder now, and I think that's how they have the general masses. And so I wanted to talk to you about that, because Jim and I went through it a bit too, about this fear. Is that what you think it's pretty much all about? Is this their game, fear?
Well, yeah, they absolutely use fear to create, they traumatize you, and then once you're in that shock or trauma state, they can, suggest or program something that you're more readily going to accept, right? Whatever that, it's like, David, I talking about problem, reaction, solution, and they absolutely use these false flags to control the population. I haven't been reading or following that specific story. I'm so much into my research, but I was aware of it. I did read your article. It was really well written, and I think you're spot on with what you said.
Yeah, David Icke is a good one, because he talks about the fear better than anyone that I've read. But it says here low vibrational emotion. What the control system wants is to create people and situations that will pull you into that low vibrational emotional state of being. And if you're in that lower emotional state of being, you're in a fear state. It's not going to be a good way to live, but it's a good way to control the population and the masses of the world. Absolutely.
Right. And there's some of those and some of the latest research I found is a lot of these entities that they're feeding off that fear, or that there's anything that's like low vibrational, that's depression, and they also feed off of love too. Like if you go to some of these rock concerts or football stadiums or even church worship centers where everybody's in a state of an ecstatic state, they can feed off of that, either extreme of emotion, I think. And so, like, I've been researching some of these psychedelics that people take, DMT and salvia and others, and they see a lot of entities, and they literally say that they're feeding off their energy and off their fear.
I always thought that, especially with 9/11, and I look back at all the world wars, you wonder if it's all a case of fear or feeding something, all the human misery and suffering and stuff like this. But these kind of attacks just seem to be happening in Europe. They seem to be, keeping everyone in a fear state, but they allow them to have the concerts and the shows and go there to give that illusion that everybody's still free when they're living in this fear state society. So, and I put up the Stockholm Syndrome example again, because I think it's so important, and it says feelings of trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by a victim towards a captor. So it's like the masses are being kept in a state of paralyzing fear, but shown they are loved and protected by the abusers at the same time. And when they have these concerts, these one love concerts after terrorizing everybody, you can't really question them, because you're so selfish and self-centered and heartless, because people supposedly died. So that's the way they kind of patch it up on that end. But the people over there in the UK have been utterly terrorized, and they're focusing on the teenagers as well, mainly here with the concerts and everything. But what I've looked into, these bombs supposedly going off, it's very, very suspect. So I doubt that any of it's really real before. But Jim mentioned that before on the last show, that some of it could be real, some of it could be sort of drills, some of it
they have crisis actors that
actors as well,
too, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them have even been
crisis
caught.
Actors.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some. There's many on YouTube. There was one in an event in America where the guys thought they were carrying this guy, 2 on each arm, and when they thought they were out of the camera, they were having a smoke, and it's very, very odd. It's very strange what's going on now, but it does seem to me to all be about fear. And I put up another thing there, Wayne, about I tried to just cram into the article. I'm not a good writer or anything, but I just tried to cram in stuff. But there was a big soccer game with Juventus over there, a Champions League soccer game in Europe I was watching on the news, and someone lit off a firecracker, and it started a mass panic and a stampede over the top of everyone, ran over the top of each other, and people got very hurt. And you're thinking, this is where people are at now. And I'm seeing it here. You see it in Sydney, and you see it in major cities around the world. Particularly over there, that people are living on very much an edge now in a fear state, and I think that's where our puppet masters love us to be. in that general state of fear
it's
and panic.
interesting that you mentioned Katy Perry, and you were just mentioning your fireworks and stuff like that, because I showed on my website how didn't she have that song Fireworks or something like that? Or anyway, I was showing in the video how there's a lot of witchcraft in her videos. And then she also has a song like I'm Wide Awake, where they're like in a labyrinth, and she's literally saying, hey, I'm wide awake, or, she's basically telling everyone to wake up,
It's
But,
weird.
yeah, Katy Perry and some of these other stars, I mean, they're a big part of the mind control.
And they're the ones they had at this concert straight after, and it was so weird because Prince Harry came out and launched the Invictus Games, and someone said to me on Facebook, it's like the Hunger Games, that movie, where it's just a sport to these people, and that's what it's how I see it. It's like the people, whoever they are, whatever you want to call them, behind the shadows here, whoever's conducting all this, it's like a big game. It's a big game, and they're playing us off against one another, and the media are pushing it out. But it's that's what it reminded me of. And then Prince Harry came out and said that sport or big sporting events is kind of the antidote to fear and all these terror attacks, and so it's fear and terror, as I said, in blood and sports.
Right?
That's right.
You keep them distracted with entertainment.
And there people will still rock up in their thousands, hundreds of thousands to the sporting events, even though this is happening and there's supposedly bombs going off and terrorists, running around everywhere. But we're also finding out these so-called guys they're blaming, these Middle Eastern people who are stabbing people and going crazy over in the UK, that they're involved with the MI5 and secret services and everything. So it's all a big con in my eyes, and we can see much restrictions coming down in the UK. As I said, Theresa May, that's the Prime Minister over there, wants to very, in a draconian measures, control the internet now. So we all suffer, and as I said, it's what worries me, and I was talking to Jim about that as well, is this constant police sort of military state on our streets, which we're not used to. But our young ones now in their teenage years are going to grow up into a world where they're just they're so used to seeing that in the airports and on the streets and everywhere, so it's becoming a part of who we are, definitely now. And this is only going to make it more as it gets more out of control. But that fear, I keep coming back to it. Jim, what do you think about this mass fear-based mind control of the entire planet through the media? We talked about it a lot, the media, and I was noticing too, Jim and Wayne, the media, when they were talking, on the nightly news, when they say words like terror, Wayne, and when they say like blood, or there's terror, or there's attacks, they really put some venom behind it, so they're pumping that out as well. What are you seeing over there on your end, Jim, with this?
Well, the way I see it is that seems to be what life is. I mean, we're a planet in the middle of a universe, and everything is up for grabs, and everybody is involved in this competition for meaning and life and death, and it's just like the ultimate, I guess, Hunger Game thing, like you're talking about. But I guess it goes beyond hunger. It's just every perception and sense is being set up there. I guess reification, the exploitation of emotion seems to be happening on every level.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's no end to how tricky this life is.
There's not much we can do when you have these types of events.
Maybe it's just supposed to be, the challenge. This is we're going to only here for there's going to be a written exam afterwards. And just got to do your best.
Life is tricky, and so everybody thinks that, after you die, well, it's all over and you go to heaven and, there's no more trickery or anything. God's going to take care of you. But I mean, from my research, I found that there is deception in the afterlife as well, in the astral realms. And so they do, with this duality and polarity, they play both sides off. Like you get scared from the fear tactics, and maybe when you leave your body, there could be some entities that might, scare you. And so you go running into the loving arms of the light, which is, from what I've found, pretending to be, good and loving. But as you mentioned with the Stockholm syndrome, I mean, how do they know when they were sent back? All we have to go on is what near-death experiencers, say, and they could have been programmed right before they come back. I mean, that being or those beings have so much awe over them that, they'll just accept almost anything that's suggested to them, I believe.
We talked about
People
that
are-
before, Wayne. If you're living a life of fear and you're dying in a fear state, I mean, you're going to see what you believed and were in this life. You're going to carry it through, aren't you? So,
Well, yeah, from what I've heard is that the consciousness, they say that when they're out of the body, I mean, after the death and they're in this astral realm, that you travel by thought and intention and desire. So yeah, you're manifesting reality. But the thing is, they get distracted immediately by this shiny white light or whatever, and they think, oh, that looks like an interesting place to go. And so what they do is they settle for the first afterlife they're presented. The beings, they'll be on a throne or something. After you go through the tunnel and into the light, a lot of times the being's on a throne, and they're like, it's like suggesting authority over you based on Earth. Anybody that's on a throne here on Earth is a king, they're royal. So, yeah, I do believe it continues on. But that's the difference, is you have to learn that, we really do control our own destiny. We're sovereign, and our soul is light. You don't need to go to an external light source. You have the light within you, and it's all, the control is based on frequency. They keep us at a very low frequency. First of all, we're chained to this big rock, and it's, 8 hertz or whatever the Schumann resonance. I guess it's going way up now, but, it's a very low frequency compared to the gamma states. There's like 5 different brain states, with gamma and theta and alpha and delta and beta, which is waking. So we're at a very low state, and once you die, your frequency starts rising. So you just need to keep raising your frequency and not be distracted by these external projections.
that's right. Jim?
You guys may thought better.
Jim, did you want to say something before about what Wayne was saying?
Well, yeah, that is interesting. The different states of the brain. I guess you're saying there are different frequency states.
Yeah. Like gamma is between 30 hertz and 100 hertz, and then like waking consciousness would be maybe 13 or something in the beta state. But like when you start getting sleepy at night, you get groggy and tired, and you start losing your consciousness. Like you get your thoughts mixed up. You're not as coherent as you were, and so you go to sleep, and then of course you're going deeper and deeper, and sometimes into delta. And you have these dreams, but you're unconscious pretty much at that point. So yeah, and then
what's
people
the frequency
that do
of sleep? What's the frequency?
Well, it goes
there?
all the way down to delta, goes all the way down to like 0 hertz, but anywhere between 0 and 8, I think. 8 hertz. I think,
Right, because the Earth is like 7, right? The Earth natural frequency.
7.8, but in the last
I'd
month,
say,
so people are saying that it's quadrupled, that it's up at like 36 hertz, and whether it's people are waking up or I'm not sure how they calculate that figure, but it is interesting. I think people are starting to wake up.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a correlation.
Well, if you try to sleep through life, I think then you are going to have to face up to it after you die. It's like you say, it's not over just because you think you got through life.
Right. That's, we think we're awake right now, but there's different stages, and basically, if the near-death experiencers say that there's like 2 different states of consciousness, that here on Earth, it's almost like we're asleep or we're in a dream, and once you've left the body and you're in the higher consciousness, I mean, they literally talk about it being a super consciousness, and you can think very clearly, and so we are kind of asleep right now, and so that's part of the process of becoming enlightened or whatever is to wake up.
Right. I only the idea of a lot of these near-death experiences occur like in a hospital setting, or like after surgery or during surgery, or some critical confrontation with life and death. Right.
Some do, yeah. There's others that like my friend. He was in a car crash, and It took him a while before they were able to transport him to a hospital. But I mean, he immediately was, out of his body, and his near-death experience was, I think, before he even made it to the hospital. So I mean, it's not all hospital situations.
Yeah, because I was wondering how much of the near-death experience is maybe a pharmaceutical effect, because the first thing they want to do is they want to incapacitate you with drugs, basically so they can control you and make sure you don't move around when they're operating on you.
That happens. Part of what I found just recently is there are near-death experiencers who also, and that the DMT can take you, pretty much to maybe the same place, but that it's not as far, and that the near-death experience is much further into that process, and that it's in the people that have the near-death experiences, they say it's more real than this reality. It's people think, oh well, they're sort of having a dream or something. But,
Well, you wonder there, Wayne, for if you're looking at elderly people in retirement or hospital conditions who my nan was drugged up on morphine, and I've talked to people about their elderly relatives passing away and stuff, and that they were looking like they were seeing people, or they were mentioning people who are long gone and all this sort of stuff, and they pass over. But you're wondering if when a lot of these elderly people pass over in a hospital condition, a state, drugged up heavily on morphine, what that would mean to the point of death and after death, I would say, because I'm guessing after death it wouldn't make any difference.
Consciousness is left. I don't think it'll matter. Once that's a physical, it's chemicals in the brain. It's physical, and once their soul's left the body, it's not going to affect their soul. It'll be a higher frequency, and I just don't think that the being drugged up is going to. Because my grandma passed recently, and that was a question I had asked my friend who had an extensive near-death experience, and. But he was pretty much saying the same thing, that it's not going to affect you. I mean, after you die.
My mother died, I'd say, a few months ago, and I was there in the hospice watching her die and all this stuff for several days, and they gave her drugs. I was really against it. I just wanted her to die a natural death and then pass into the other world,
right.
Naturally, but, it's pretty hard to avoid it, the culture of pharmaceuticals there. So they gave her drugs, but it wasn't really for her. It was about putting an emotional prison or control matrix around her so that she could not disturb us.
Right.
They kept her breathing regular. You wouldn't hear gasping and stuff like that up to the very end. They had different chemicals to keep her so-called stable, but really it just locked her functions up so that it wouldn't disturb the workers in the hospice, and it wouldn't disturb the family that are sitting around, which is the principle of a lot of pharmaceuticals. Basically, it's like a cheap prison,
Right.
Emotional prison.
When I was down at hospice visiting my grandma, and I asked one of the hospice workers, she'd worked there for like 30 years, and I asked her if she ever sees any spirits or orbs, and she said, oh yeah, and then I asked her about the shadow beings, and she nodded her head with that too. And just recently, my brother passed away, and so I was pretty much helping him out. And so when I came over, I was the one that found him. And so they sent, police out, and they sent victim services out. And the person that came to, they asked questions and make sure that you're going to be okay and everything. And, I looked in her eyes, and she had vertical slits for eyes, like for a reptilian. And I'm thinking, they go there and they're at the, people are grieving, they're emotionally distraught, and I mean, I don't know, are they feeding off the that emotion at death. You know, but I mean, I've never seen anybody with vertical slits for for people before.
This was the person the official who was talking to you?
Yes, the person from Victim Services.
Vertical slits. You should have asked her.
Well, I asked her. Well, I was kind of crying a little bit, and I said I can't. I was kind of upset that I was crying because I'm trying to control my emotions in this world, right? I don't want to be detached so that I don't, have to come back. And she said, "Well, you must be Buddhist then." I'm like, "Oh no, it's more of a Gnostic belief." And so I asked her what her belief was, and she said Rosicrucian. So I mean, that's a secret society too.
Oh.
And the woman at the hospice for my grandma, she literally, I had told her my friend's near-death experience, and she said, "Oh, we ought to look into Rosicrucianism." So I don't know if that's just isolated cases or whether there's a lot more people in this death services that are into secret societies. I don't know.
That's a common thing.
I wonder if there's I wonder if there's contact lenses that have a vertical slit.
You'd have to be out of a mind.
I don't think that was.
There are. Okay, here it is.
Me out. She was a nice person.
They have contact lenses. They do have contact lenses that give you reptile eyes, and vertical slits and all that. I've just looked it up just now.
It's I don't know. I think some of these in the trenches or bowels of some of these hospitals. I think they're killing people. I think they're doing all sorts of things. To a lot of elderly people and all sorts. Doing all sorts of rituals.
Are they mercy killings or are they?
You got to wonder.
Kinda...
Yeah, you got to wonder. They're taking a lot of kids here in Australia, and in the US as well, snatching a lot of children. They're disappearing. You got to be really careful when you go into those hospitals. I think in that sort of environment.
Good question.
Don't go.
No, I don't know. I wonder that as well. It's a terrible system, and then, you wonder, well, what's it feeding? I mean, it's feeding the pharmaceutical industry for sure with all the drugs and everything, but it just seems like a very menacing system behind that. What they're doing to people. And it's we've mentioned that a lot. It's a hard thing for your being elderly and a lot of people don't know what to do with their elderly grandparents, grandma, granddad. They put them in there, and they die.
Yeah, it was interesting because I stayed with her for like 8 days. I didn't know how long it was going to be, but I stayed with her. I took off from work and was there, and she was talking to people that out of just thin air and answering questions. Like one, she gave them her name and her date of birth, and then they must have asked her who I was because she's like, "Oh, that's my grandson," and so they're literally finding out what her name is. These entities are finding out what her name is and what her birth is. I mean, so maybe they're looking her up to find out how they, what she believes in or how to trick her. I don't know. It was pretty strange. And literally, and I may have been because I wasn't getting much sleep, but I was there and I felt something tug on my leg. It was really weird, like an astral entity trying to pull me out of body or something. That was pretty freaky.
Jesus. Yeah.
Well, I've had some of those feelings, like there's a person in the room when there's not supposed to be. Like I know there's 5 people in the room, and suddenly I see an apparition of another person. I had that happen to me one time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a show called Paranormal Witness, and they did an episode on the angel of death, and it's like these hospice workers and stuff, and they said, well, all of us have seen something, but we can't talk about it because no one's going to bring their grandma and leave them here with us if they think there's all these spooky things here.
That's right.
Yeah. What really blows my mind is these odd coincidences that make you feel like the world, there's something supernatural going on. Like several years ago, I wanted to write some music, so I got a book on orchestration, right? Classical orchestration, and it referred me to another book called Cornell, published in 1912, which it said was no longer in print, right? So I said, gee, I wish I had that book. And the very next day, I found that book on top of a garbage can.
Wow.
that out of print orchestration book. I found it on top of a garbage can, and it had a burn mark, like an electrical burn mark across it, as if electricity had gone through the wires, burned the book. The person took it off the bookshelf and put it on the garbage can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing.
That kind of thing.
But
and then one time,
brought it into your life.
And then one time, I used to own one of the first computers back in the 80s, the Commodore 64. And it was great, but then they came out with the IBM, and I looked at that computer one night, and I went, God, this is a piece of shit, man. This Commodore is like, I was so angry. Why do I own this thing? And a lightning corona slowly moved down the power cord, and then onto the modem, and then it went right into my Commodore, and I heard, it fried the motherboard. You know,
Jeez.
As I was sitting there looking at it, it fried the motherboard. You know. So
hey, you guys, while we're on the topic of hospice, I actually received an email like a week ago from this woman. You want to hear what she said? It was pretty interesting because she actually applied she was aware of my website and some of what I was saying, and she actually applied those teachings she was in a coma. And she said, I'm very engaged in reading your article on the white light trap. I've been reviewing your article on and off for the past year. It changed my perspective on the afterlife immensely. Last year, I had a serious accident. I was in and out of a coma for days, having spent 2 weeks in the intensive care unit. One thing I do remember is when I lost consciousness, plunging into total darkness. No bright light, no deceased family members. As the months passed by, a feeling of absolute love and peace would resonate from within me. Still does. Strangers seem to be curious about me. At night, as I'm drifting to sleep, internally my head will start to glow. And so I followed up and asked her more, and she said, I had read your article months before my accident, and so in essence it stayed with me. As I'm lying on my hospital bed, I had momentary lucid thoughts which were not to project any expectations of angels, guides, etc. I was not going to be lied to, which is why I'm guessing the immersion into the void. Once I started to regain lucidity, one of the nurses confessed to me that she would often come into my room when I was unconscious because she said the room would fill with a feeling of peacefulness. This woman then went out of her way to take such loving care of me. And finally she said, at times this divine love within me is so intense, I sometimes burst into tears. My happiest moments are spent in solitude at peace. So, I don't know, just a little confirmation.
Interesting. Yeah.
So where'd you find that one?
She emailed it to me last week. So,
Great.
Who is this lady? Wait. Who is it again?
Just a listener, somebody that
right.
read my website or heard one of the radio shows, and just thought she'd write, because she literally applied, she was aware of the white light trap, and she didn't want to be tricked by any entities like angels or guides or relatives or whatever. So she thinks that's why she went into kind of a void, but she was saying it was like so peaceful, and that she has these intense feelings of love and peace, which I don't know, just food for thought.
And she's a nurse.
No, she's not a nurse.
Just a listener.
The nurse liked to go into the room because she felt such peace in the room.
Oh.
While she was in the coma for a couple of weeks,
right,
the nurse liked going in there. So.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, you have so much of that information, Wayne, that we've covered on this podcast alone. I mean, it's just outstanding. I mean, it's too much. It's not just a couple of cases here.
Right, can't be coincidence.
Incredible as websites with a.
And lately, I've been finding confirmation on just Reddit.com. They have all these subforums for all these different categories, and these are just normal people in everyday life. People like to accuse all these researchers of being shills, or they're they're in the Illuminati, they're this, that, and the other. Well, here's people on Reddit that are just posting, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of posts where these people are seeing like they wake up in the morning and they'll see the grid lines before they fully come to consciousness, or they're a lot of times it's sure it's through DMT or some other drugs and stuff, but these entities are literally telling them that they're in a game, or that they're that the world's a simulation. And so I don't know. I just think it can't be just. There's got to be more to it if there's just so many people saying it. And the more and more I research all these different areas, the leading researchers are saying the same things.
Let's talk about that, Wayne, a little bit first. Get Jim's opinion on this, the artificial simulation of the planet or universe, and this game that we maybe we talk about that. Are we doing this to ourselves? All these things that we're seeing, these space creatures and aliens and abductions and all this stuff, may be manifestations of our own minds, or a reflection of what we're seeing through movies or whatever it may be. But we talked about this a lot, that are our true selves outside of our body, our spiritual selves, somewhere else, playing, are we being put into this body to sort of play a game and learn, go back, come back again until we're finished whatever we want to do. Let's talk about that a little bit, because the more I look at it and the more I study things around me, and what Jim was just talking about with these weird occurrences and everything, and the deja vus, everything we discuss. This matrix system, it does seem like a projected sort of artificial reality or realm that we're all in, doesn't it? You go into that very deeply, and you put a lot of research and tag it all together. But there's a lot of science looking into it as well. Because I honestly have to sit here. I was sitting there the other day, Wayne, and I was thinking, where the hell am I? I keep saying it's like the Truman Show, and then when he finally works out that he's on some show or something, he tries to paddle his little boat out, and then he runs into like a movie set, and they got the fake thunder and everything. And I'm looking at this sort of stuff they're doing to the atmosphere, and I look at everything around me, and I just think, well, where am I? Because ever since I was a little kid and I come up through school, I've been told that I'm on a planet Earth, and space is out there, and the stars, and there's Mars and Jupiter, and NASA gives us all the information, but NASA's one huge psyop, if anything. We're not going to get the truth from them. But, they're telling us that we're on a planet and space is out there. Are we? Because I don't really know anymore. It really is like the Truman Show. That's why I mentioned that it's a good movie. The concept of that movie is so fantastic, because I honestly think now to myself, well, I've been told that I'm on a planet. I've been told that this is time. When I say to someone, okay, you give me an example of human time, man-made time, it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, without using numbers. And they say, well, you got the tides and the sun goes round, the moon goes round, and everything like that. I said, well, no. You look at a glacier that can be millions of years old, or you look at a tree that can be thousands of years old, that doesn't know any time, We have this man-made, locked-in time grid that we're shut into, that we must answer to for our jobs and daily life, but outside of that, outside of the planet or whatever, it doesn't mean anything. It ceases to exist. It's just a bunch of numbers which are wrong anyway, that we get taught in school. We're brought up all the wrong way with the maths and everything. We're not being taught correctly. It just seems to make sense, but you got all these people that think the Earth's flat and all of this and all this arguing going on, all this stuff going on, Wayne, but I kind of look around. I do take time, and I look up at the sky and the stars, and I think, where am I? What really is this? Is it just am I just in a game?
It is like the Truman Show.
To be tested. I think morally we're being tested, and I think that we do die and we go somewhere else and we answer to that and we try and better it. It's obviously this body is a vehicle for our true essence, our souls, our spirits that are but our body's being used in this life to go through and learn, and I feel like that more than anything now, that I'm here to really just learn and look around me and study and research and find out things. I think you do have to be good, and I do think it's all about love, and that's why I do bring in the fear thing. I think that keeps your vibrational frequencies down, and keeps us in the mud emotionally, and that fear-based thing. But it does seem like an artificial simulation, which is very out there for a lot of people. I understand that. You think you're a wacko. You think, oh, here we go, these guys are nuts, but it does make sense the more you look at it. It really does, because your mind, just the way that you think and see things around you, can change everything. When, as Jim mentioned before, you want something, and then it just appears. I mean, it's amazing. You can change your entire life and everything around you, everyone around you, just with the way that you think and you see things, which shows you how powerful the mind is. But everything's always shifting and changing and rearranging itself in your life to accommodate how you see things and how you think and what you believe in. And so if you're living in a negative state of mind every day and getting up in a negative way, everything's negative. It rains on you, you're missing the buses, you're losing your money, you lose your job, your wife hates you. Everything happens like that. But you can change it in a heartbeat, in a flash. It doesn't mean money's going to drop out of the sky. Right? Yeah, it is. It's almost like you can go in and change telepathically how you play the game. You don't have to wait a whole lifetime and then be on your deathbed and regret things that you did. You can actually do it in this second. Say, tomorrow morning I'm getting up, I'm going to make a change. And you get different people into your life, you get different circumstances, you get different opportunities presented. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. It's like an organic simulation of a technology that we have no idea about. Yeah.
Consciousness is very powerful. What the mind can do with positive thinking, even.
You wonder a whole life of people living in this fear and these terror attacks and things going on. And we're talking with you many times about watching these fear-based movies and horror movies and all this stuff. And people thinking like that their whole life, because someone was saying on a website I was reading the other day, I was saying, like, more and more now, if you're online and you're looking at negative things, whatever it may be, if you're looking at like horror things, horror movies, or pornography, or all this stuff, it actually all these thousands of ads will constantly pop up and try and accommodate you, with YouTube and everything you go onto, because the internet is like a mind and it's learning your movements and actions through your strokes on that keyboard. And, so you're looking at all this stuff.
Data mining.
It mines you.
Cookies and all kinds of
exactly.
On,
it's incredible. I was just looking at shoes the other day because it's cold here. I was looking to get some shoes, and now every website I go on, there's all these shoe ads popping up, And that was just one time I looked on one store. And so people are doing this for years, thousands of things, and it's just, it's building this brain on you, digitally, inside this matrix. It's building this whole system on you. It knows how you think every time you log on. And I almost feel
like
it comes
people like
through the computer.
Elon Musk who want to, expand us, and, the transhumanists that want, to turn us into cyborgs. I mean, he's got like I think it's called neural net or something like that he wants to, produce, which is going to be like another layer to like a little hat or helmet that you put on, which would, connect you, like in cyberspace. I mean, like they want to take us up and put us into a cloud, because I don't think he believes in maybe a soul or a spirit. And so he wants to, augment our reality that we have right here. But he's a big, advocate of he believes in that we are in a simulation too. He said that the odds are like billions to one that we're not. And then I think Bank of America had come out and even made a statement. And then they had Isaac Asimov has a conference every year. It's Isaac Asimov conference, and it was a year before maybe, but Neil deGrasse Tyson hosted it, and the topic was, are we living in a simulation? And he put it like 50 odds that we are, that we're like on a hard drive on somebody's computer somewhere. And it is interesting. And then what was the other? I think David Bohm was the one that posited the simulation argument. But so there are some more and more scientists are taking note of that possibility.
It's non-organic, isn't it? I mean, that in itself could be a mass psyop as well. I mean, it's but then you think about it. If it's a simulation, then it's obviously a technology that we don't understand yet, an organic type of technology. But it seems on Earth now that they're trying to merge people. They're trying to take away in a big way parts of people's morals, and kindness and empathy is a big part of what they attack. And and then they're trying to sort of merge us with this kind of technology in a very cryptic way, and it seems unorganic to me and unnatural in a lot of ways as well. And I think these what would you call them, atheist people like Musk and stuff that don't believe in any soul. I think they're trying to capture that consciousness part of the human being, what makes us sort of tick, and download that into a robotic or artificial carrier so they can live forever because they're scared of death. I think these people that are doing this, Wayne, are more scared of death than anybody. These people that are saying this stuff, so it's but then clearly that's what they're trying to use technology to live forever, because a lot of these people who are big in running the planet, and these families and old bloodlines that are very wealthy, a lot of them are getting elderly, and they don't want to pass on. Well, they do pass on their wealth as the other ones come through, but obviously they're looking for some type of way to capture that consciousness and become immortal. Why not? Maybe they can be like that TV show, where they just put their heads in glasses, preserve their heads. they can all stay like that, But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it seems like it's all based out of fear or ignorance. If we do have a soul or a spirit, and these bodies that we're living in is our prisons, then why would you want to stay in a lesser realm when there's higher realms where there's no pain or suffering? And I know you mentioned that you think that we're here learning and everything. My only question with that is, like, the near-death experiencers, they'll say that too. That they'll say that the Earth is a school and that we're here learning all these lessons and evolving or growing. But they also say that when they're over in the other realm, that they have access to all the knowledge in the universe. That it's all readily available. So it's like, why do we need to come here to learn when all the knowledge is already there? And then the other question is, there's like 7 billion souls on the planet just right now, and we've been here for thousands of years. I mean, how many billions of souls? I mean, how long does it take to learn something like to love? Or it just seems like if it was a school, it seems like God would have a quicker teaching process than, we're here in the dark, we're ignorant, we don't know why we're here. Why not at least know that we're here to learn? Like when we take a course at the university, we're well aware that we're going to learn to take the classes, and it just seems like there's too much of a darkness or a veil of amnesia that hangs over us while we're here. Something doesn't seem right.
What do people do with the infinite knowledge that they have available to them?
Yeah, the funny thing is they seem to forget almost all of it when they come back. They're like, oh, I knew everything when I was there, but
right.
It's a fall in frequency. While they're up at that high frequency, they do know pretty much everything. But when they come back into this body, all of a sudden they lose it.
Theodore Sturgeon, the science fiction writer, he wrote this short story where a guy had this magic underwear. When he put it on, he had a big hard on. But then when he'd take it off to screw a woman, he had to take them off to screw a woman. So that's the paradox.
When he took them off, he'd lose it, right?
Yeah.
That's torture right there.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Well, you wonder that.
It's a learning experience.
Well, you wonder that way, you come here and you think, what am I supposed to do on this goddamn planet, and you go through hard times, and as you get older, you learn, and you get better, and then you die, and then what's the point? Do you take it with you, what you learned? So you seem to get put back here. Maybe it's a moral thing, maybe.
Well, that's why I think it's it's sort of a challenge.
It seems to be.
It's hard to.
You're going to come back and do the wrong thing.
That's the only universal thing I can think of, is that it's a challenge. It's learning, it's help, it's hate, it's war, it's love, it's everything. It's permanent, it's transient, but it's a soul challenge.
I do agree with that. That's why I think it's sort of a game. It's like, as if we're these eternal spirits that are just hanging around for forever. If you just manifest anything you want at the blink of an eye and you have whatever you want, then that would get kind of boring and there wouldn't be any challenge. So it seems like you would want a challenge. So you would invent to play these little games to give yourself something to overcome, these tests, like you say. But at some point, you've had enough, and you're like, okay, I'm a little bit tired of this game. I wouldn't mind going back to the way it was for a while.
I guess it's no use to be able to pinpoint the players or the handlers of the game, whether it's you in the future or whatever, because then you would know. So they put you here in the dark. You've got to figure it out for yourself. Makes a whole lot of sense, but a lot of people do say all the information that they learned in this life, all the information that Jim's learning and all the information I'm learning and you are, Wayne, that you already knew it, that it's already in there. You're just, stumbling upon it. And so that would entail that there's definitely a field of knowledge there somewhere, that you're always connected to, but not maybe more sharply as is when you pass over, that you are now.
If we are here to learn, I mean, why the extremes? I mean, I'm going to use the word evil, but I mean, there's people being tortured. I mean, I could give graphic examples, but I don't want to. There's people just living pure hellish lives. I mean, I can understand a little bit of learning, but I mean, to some people they just
learning too much.
How do you learn? Well, yeah,
learning too much too quickly.
Yeah, it's just these entities feeding. I mean, you're literally living on a planet. It's a big farm. It's a food chain, and every creature's feeding off each other just to live another day. It just
like
seems
the ocean.
too extreme. Yeah,
it's like fishing in the ocean. All different kinds of fish.
Yeah, and there's literally fish that they'll dangle a light. They're called anglerfish, and they'll dangle a light out in front and then lure their prey to the light. And then there's cuttlefish that do that, and there's these on Antarctica, I think, on the caves, the cave ceilings. I can't remember the name of the creature, but they'll like light up the cave ceilings like the nighttime sky, and they'll lure the prey to them. So there's creatures that literally use light to even feed.
Right, the octopus.
Yeah, the cuttlefish is like an octopus.
Oh yeah,
and it can change. Different. It can cycle through all these different like fluorescent.
It hypnotizes.
It really does hypnotize. I had a friend that caught one, and he said it was very hypnotic. He let it go. He put it back out to sea, but yeah, it was hypnotizing.
It escaped by boring him.
You're right. But yeah, why the extremes then? If it's all, if we're here to learn a lesson, and it just seems like there would be a better learning tool than this extreme Earth where you don't remember. Like if we're here trying to work through some kind of karma, then why don't you remember your past lives, or that, oh yeah, I'm doing this because I hurt somebody in my last life, but we don't remember that. Our memories are wiped when we come to Earth. There's just too many people that are getting insight, like to have pre-birth memories about these things, like choosing to come to Earth, but there's just too many clues that people that are remembering what happened.
You think the deja vu means we're coming back again, Wayne, Jim, or do you think the deja vu is proof that we're coming back over and over again?
Me?
Either one.
Wayne.
I think that is a clue. It's one of the clues, but just there's near-death experiences.
We have deja vus about things we haven't done yet. I mean, are we
near-death
coming back to the same
experiencers
life?
Remember many lives, and then there's the out-of-body researcher Robert Monroe, who he says 2,000 to 3,000. Like he would leave his body and he would talk about oversouls, and he's got he calls it the it and the I there, and he would say that he like tried to count them, but he would lose count. But he said there's like 2,000 to 3,000 of these pieces of your soul, and you're supposed to like collect them all together, and but there's a lot of different researchers in different areas and near-death experiencers that when during their near-death experience they remember many lives. But yeah, the deja vu would be a clue.
I knew an expressionistic artist who was very successful, and the expressionists they don't really follow standard technique, classical technique. They just express their emotions onto canvas, and they can do a painting really quick, And she also thought that this whole thing that life is a learning process is total bullshit. She said that everybody's wasting their time learning when they should just be doing, And I know that I guess she's wrong in a way, but but there's just something right about that. Like she would just, she was into directly existentially moving forward on issues.
Yeah. I think maybe instead of learning, just having experiences and stories to tell and just having challenges to overcome could be
right.
part of
and
the
you know
reason.
the famous philosopher William Ockham, the guy who invented Occam's razor. You know, he was a heretic and imprisoned, house arrest and all that. You know, like Galileo by the Catholic Church. But he is. He said that knowledge comes direct by intuition, and then the rationality and all that stuff follows. And the world famous chess player currently is Carl Magnus from, I think, Norway or something like that. But he said that when he thinks of his next move, he says he just instantly thinks of it, and then he spends the next 10 minutes verifying that it's correct before he actually moves the piece, you know.
You can see it in his mind's eye that far ahead, or he does the calculations, I guess.
Well, the calculation is not a conventional thing. It's just like an intuition thing.
Mm-hmm. I see, yeah. It's like
you know, it is funny how we solve problems. You know, like you'll study something, and you go, well, this is impossible. And at that moment you say it's impossible, that's when suddenly
you give up, right?
You got the answer.
Right,
you know,
right.
It just pops out, you know.
Or like you're working on a problem for work or something, and you know, when you go to sleep, it's like the last thing on your mind, and then when you wake up, all of a sudden the answer's
in the morning
there for you. Right.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's right. That's true.
So sometimes the logic is sometimes an obstacle. Try to logically work your way through something.
Right. Like the conscious mind gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
The higher conscious.
Well, I think if you don't think in a negative manner, everything seems to work out fine. But that tricks me as well, Wayne, what you were saying before. You know, on this planet there's so much suffering and horror going on. You just wonder, you know. You're observing that. Those people know they're doing it. Did they come back? Did they choose to come back and be like that? To suffer? Because you hear that side of it as well. No. That you choose to come back to this life. And, yeah, but I hear that many times in the afterlife experiences, you know, that people go to the other realm and they research and they wait, and then the time comes, they come back, they choose their parents, they choose their body, they choose their life. Or you wonder, are these people just doing that life after life and constantly being recycled in an energy way?
But there's these guides,
misery,
and there's like council of elders and guides over there that you know, a lot of the research comes from like Michael Newton, you know, the in-between lives, and you know, there's these guides that pretty much, you know, convince us that we need to come back to learn more. So, I mean, we're kind of giving away our sovereignty at that point. They've convinced us that, well, you need to go back and learn more, and in order to do that, you need to suffer. And the entities in the astral realm, they feed off of that suffering. I mean, some of the people that were under like some of the psychedelics, the entities would tell them. I mean, they either got the impression or they actually could feel them feeding off of them, and even love, they would like feed off their love. And so we're kind of like here through the suffering and pain, it almost sustains their world.
So how do you define suffering? What is suffering?
That's a tough question. Yeah.
I think it's all in your own mind, isn't it? I think it's you can suffer in many ways, you know. I think it's what you put yourself through. But then, of course,
a mental thing.
Yeah, but there's
expectations.
You know, but there's suffering in poorer countries where people don't have enough food and they suffer, you know, that type of thing. They go through wars and constant, you know, malnutrition and all of this, and they live a life of hardship and they suffer a lot.
You can feel it in your soul when something is wrong or it's not uplifting or loving. I mean, you know, you literally start crying. I mean, yeah, you probably are creating it yourself because of your attitude and your belief system. But, I mean, if you're starving to death or you lose a loved one or even, you know, a prisoner of war and you're being tortured, I mean, you'll find out what suffering is really quickly, I think. I mean, we have it pretty good here in the United States compared to a lot of the world, but there's a lot of people in the world that, they don't have the meals, they don't have running water.
That's right. You wonder why you came back to your particular spot. Why I'm here and you're there, and why you're here at this particular moment, and why you're thinking the way that you do. And others seem to be, going on like in a crazed manner. It's and so much going on. So it's hard to find out on a personal level why you are here and what it is you need to know. Because everything, in a way, or the weird thing is, everything seems written. Everything seems to be spelled out for you, and you're just falling into those patterns as you go through your life. It was already going to happen anyway. It's like your whole life is spelled out on the palm of your hands. Everything that's going to happen to you.
Well, they do say that before you come here, you do sort of plan out your life, and it's sort of whether it's a complete script. I mean, maybe you've got a little bit of leeway to choose a chicken sandwich or a turkey sandwich for dinner, but there's certain highlights in your life, but maybe the people you meet and the challenges you're going to have and face in your life, that those are pretty much set in stone for the most part. But if your path goes off, like if you're not making the right decisions, then you can. I mean, like my friend that had a near-death experience, and he met the demiurge before he came back to Earth, and he said that it was like a bunch of if-then and if-then statements, and the best scenario was if you and everybody else stayed true to your plan, then you would have this great life or whatever. But if you veered off the path, you could end up with this Z.9.A kind of life, which was not anything that you had planned.
It's like life is has this infinite number of freeways, lanes. You just don't know which one you're going to go into. It says in the Matrix, Wayne, if you had a dream that was so real and you couldn't wake up from that dream, how would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world? What if you started having dreams within dreams? I mean,
or the movie Inception. And Edgar Allan Poe has a poem about a dream within a dream within a dream. And yeah, I mean, when we go to sleep at night, sometimes the dream seems so real. It feels like you're actually living it, but then when you wake up, you're like, oh man, that was just a dream. Or then you look at lucid dreaming. Some people have the ability to have lucid
control the dreams. Yeah. Right. You wonder if the dream world is the real world, and this is the,
right.
The
I
real
think
dream
the Aborigine talk about dream time and how this is a dream. And
yeah.
Sometimes if you're doing like an escapist type of activity, you can start feeling guilty because the rent's coming up and different responsibilities are weighing over your head. So that's sort of an indication that you got to get out of a certain thing is a dream, and you got to leave that dream and get back to pragmatic reality. Although I know that's superseded by something you're going to say.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I don't know, the manifesting reality and creating a positive life. I mean, I've tried doing some of that, and I don't have too much success. Like I remember one summer I hurt my elbow playing tennis. Well, I didn't hurt it playing tennis, but I got like tennis elbow, and I couldn't play that whole summer. And I was like trying creative visualization and all these different techniques to try to heal it, but it wasn't working for me. So it just seems like if we really had that much power with our mind or our consciousness, it would have instantly healed just by directing my thought towards it.
Okay, what I think about that is that when we have a health problem like that, the idea to tell the body that we don't have faith in it, that it really wants to heal itself, is the wrong way to go. By going into different, techniques to get it to heal, it already is set up to optimally heal itself and be enthusiastic about life. We need to get out of the way and let it let ourselves live our lives. And some of the rules and all that are handed down to us by like the medical, pharmaceutical community about how we're supposed to approach, how we got to do this, how we drink, how much water to drink, how to breathe, how to sit straight, are actually teaching us that we can't trust ourselves. Yeah.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Same in the psychiatric institutions, yeah. Psychiatric do that. Psychiatrists.
Well, yeah, we've been programmed and conditioned from birth to have all these negative thoughts, and you can't do this, and this is the way it is, and like children, some of them are like having imaginary playmates. I mean, who knows if they're really seeing any kind of beings, but eventually, their mom's saying, "Oh, well, that's not real," But I guess what I'm trying to say is that we do get kind of programmed as to what's possible from a very early age.
Or they're put on anti-psych medication now, Wayne. Just like, little Jimmy has an imaginary friend and he's 6 years old. Well, we need to put him on psych medication.
Or somebody who has the ability, that they can hear like another frequency, and they can hear voices or entities or something like that, and they're being told that they're schizophrenic or delusional or paranoid or whatever. But I mean, how do they know they really, there's a huge electromagnetic spectrum and we only can perceive a very small sliver of it.
I watched a really great movie not long ago, Wayne, called Love and Mercy. It's brilliantly acted.
Music?
It was about the Beach Boys, about Brian Wilson and the making of Pet Sounds. Yeah, because this went quite deep. It's really worth watching because it showed his so-called minder or doctor that he had that was just kind of trying to kill him off and keep him sedated, And he was the brains of the Beach Boys. He was so talented, but he was very damaged by drugs and what was done to him and his own life as well. But it shows you in this movie how this guy maintained control through drugs on him and constantly told him and reinforced that idea that he was sick and mentally ill and everything. But it shows him making pet sounds in this beautiful place with all this music and how he was hearing the music before he made it, so he was hearing sounds and ethereal sort of bells and noises out of the clear blue sky, and he would lie down and hear it, and he was told that he was crazy because he was hearing those beautiful noises. But when he applied those sounds that he was hearing into the music, and they show you how it was all done. I mean, he had these incredible people that had played with Elvis Presley and all toured with all the greatest musicians of all time, He had them all in the studio, recording, and was getting them to tune down the piano and change this and change that. They were thinking, this guy is incredible. And one of them said to him, we've been to institutes of music, we've studied music our entire lives, and this kid of the Beach Boys is in there doing things that we just can't comprehend yet. It was so amazing what he was doing, but he was actually translating music sounds from his mind that he was downloading almost. But the doctor had him on this psych drugs and was just had him like a vegetable. It was really sad what they did to him. Yeah.
I saw that movie. It was really good.
Yeah, Love and Mercy. I'm a very big Beach Boys fan. I think that it's really interesting music, and I like Brian Wilson.
Good Vibrations is one of the most positive songs. I really
that's right.
I always liked that song ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah, and how he I found that one of the brothers very negative actually because he wanted to keep doing the norm, the surfer music, but Brian was having all this download of music and sounds in his head that he wanted to try and change, but everyone said it was sad, but he didn't think so. He was putting this kind of mellow, a little bit sad music, but he was putting a positive thing on it as well. He's mixing it.
Yeah, all the Beach Boys, Surfing Safari and Catch a Wave. I mean, those were all fun, positive, happy songs.
I Get Around.
It was very, very sad what happened to Dennis Wilson because he was the drummer, and I watched the Beach Boys documentary, and they were up there setting up for a concert, and the guy that was doing the sound for the concert, they were talking about Dennis, and he would just go, and he'd never played a piano in his life, and he'd just sit down and start playing these songs straight off the bat, and he wrote a great album called Pacific Ocean Blue. Before he died in the studio, but he basically lost everything and became an alcoholic bum, and then fell off this mooring on the boat in the water, and and passed away. But he became a terrible alcoholic. But he was so talented as well. He was a really talented guy, and the music he was putting out was amazing. But they had a lot of problems, to say the least. Those guys, there was actually
like to stay in his room. Didn't he like to stay in his room a lot? Because that's why he wrote the song In My Room.
Yeah, that was Brian Wilson. He was so drugged up and stuff. There was actually someone put up a very rare, from a VHS cassette, interview on Good Morning America from the early 80s of the Beach Boys, getting interviewed on Good Morning America, and that's on an old TV set, and the ladies talking with them, and they're all there on the sofa. And this Dennis Wilson's off his mind, drunk. He can't even hold his head up on live on set. It's very sad. And at the end of it, he's basically got his knuckles on the carpet with his head on the carpet, hung over. He was so drunk. Sad wave to see and how abusive the father was. But what I found incredible in that movie, Wayne, was, that creepy doctor that was basically just drugging him, because he was, told that he was crazy because he's hearing music. And you're wondering, where the hell was that music coming from that he was hearing and translating into that music that no one had ever heard before? Because I don't think there's ever been an album ever made like Pet Sounds. You won't hear anything like that. And the way he tuned down everything. Yeah, it was coming downloading. And shows the scene there, doesn't it, where he's lying on the carpet and he's hearing all these noises and
he could have been attuned to a higher frequency if he had this.
That's where I
by
was
listening
going,
to the lyrics, like good vibrations and all these happy fun songs. He might have initially had a very high frequency and could have been hearing.
He did.
He was more creative stuff.
He went into the studio, didn't he? Sometimes when they were recording, and he was walking around. He said the vibes aren't good. He said we can't record today. I wonder. He didn't get that feeling. Wow. Yeah, so he was tuning into something, and you're wondering there, what was that? Yeah.
A lot of those musicians literally are channeling. They almost have out of body. They talk about possession. Whether it's Jimi Hendrix or Carlos Santana. I mean, they literally talk about something taking over their bodies while they're playing. I mean, sometimes they actually leave the body, but I think that's a pretty common.
You saw that with Hendrix, didn't you? Yeah, Jimi Hendrix playing the electric guitar.
Well, they were doing so much drugs and alcohol,
Yeah.
I mean, Ozzy was talking about the zombie stomp and the demon alcohol. So, I mean, put the two together, it's like when he's drinking the demon alcohol, they make him do the zombie stomp,
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I know. You're wondering what levels they were going on then, taking the psychedelics, the acid and LSD,
Mm-hmm.
So it was so popular through time with all those older bands through the 60s and stuff as well. But there's definitely, as you said,
Dead.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. I mean, there's so much talent and done in such a way. It's amazing. But there you go. Yeah, I thought that was interesting because people do mention that overwhelmingly as well, Wayne. These guardian angels that warn them or pre-warn them of they think there might be a car accident or plane accident. There's been many famous cases in history of people actually hearing a voice saying, "Don't get on there."
Why didn't they? You're saying they actually prevented the accident from happening. I mean, sometimes that does happen, but then there's other times. It's like they're literally the angel will come there after the crash or whatever to save them, but they're kind of keeping them in the system at that point. They keep them alive. So
I've heard ones where they say that they actually heard a voice tell them in their mind,
right?
Like actually a voice loud tell them something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a few cases I looked into of that where they heard those voices to not go somewhere or do something. It's just that.
Well, I mean, I remember a story where there was like two brothers and they were up high, on the side of a building. They were painters or whatever, and they were like twin brothers, I think. And the one brother, something happened. There was an accident. They both fell, I think, all the way down, and the one brother died, and then the other one, for some reason, was saved. And he was like praising the angel for saving him, but I mean, then why wasn't the other one saved? Or what I'm saying? There's just too many questions about all the angel saving stories.
Guardian angel.
Like if we are in a system where the entities are feeding off of us, then sure they would want to keep us around. A lot of times, they're in they lived, but they're in the hospital and they broke their neck and they're, I don't know, they're in a lot of pain.
You read a lot of, go Jim.
If there's entities exploiting us, and there's probably entities that are helping us too.
That's what I was thinking.
Right?
It can be, but the way I see it is this system, if they come down here, they're going to be trapped in this system. If you fall in frequency, your consciousness falls in frequency, and once you're down in here, there's an amnesia that sort of takes place. And I mean, maybe if they can do it from the astral realm, but if they're coming into physical form, I just don't see how. I just don't think a lot of the higher entities, the positive ones, are going to want to come down into this system and risk.
Well, I mean, Brian Wilson, for example, is in this low energy negative zone, but he's creating these wonderful, wonderful things. Artists do these amazing things. They come out, they create things anyway.
Yeah, I listen to music all the time. It can elevate your mood or put you in a good mood if you're down about something.
Absolutely.
But you have to be careful what music you listen to. I mean, some of the lyrics are very dark, and I was yeah, right. I was researching, Alex Gray. He does this artwork. I don't know if you're aware of him, but it's very popular in like New Age, and but it's based on DMT experiences he had.
That's right.
And it literally shows what he experienced, and he worked with the alternative rock band Tool to show what his visions were. And like one of the paintings is called Collective Vision, and it's this dome with a light at the center of the dome. There's all these multitude of eyes looking. But he worked with Tool, and in the video Vicarious, they were showing all this, and then the video they've got leeches and ticks and an octopus in there, and the lyrics are literally talking about vampirism, and a couple of other Tool videos that show Alex Gray type stuff. There's the same thing. They talk about these shadows that I don't know. It just seems kind of dark,
Feed on negativity.
Well, some people are attracted to that. These a lot of people like to go to these vampire movies and all that stuff. So there's an attraction.
Yeah,
to these things.
And the meme is so big in society. The whole vampire meme and trope. I mean, why is it so popular? And what is it? It's like it's the living dead feeding off of by our life force, the blood. And so, in a sense, they're leeches, right? They're like sucking on your neck and draining you of your blood. I mean,
but why do people want to go to these vampire movies? To me, they're sort of boring.
Stockholm syndrome, right? Yeah, I never liked it.
Does it make you feel? If you're really miserable, maybe watching people having their blood sucked out of them and all that makes you feel better. It normalizes your own pain, maybe.
It's the same thing with the zombie phenomenon and the Walking Dead, and the apocalypse that's going to happen. What is it? The doomsday scenario. But it's these zombies that walk around. They feed on brains or whatever, and it's the living dead come to kill the living. It's like, why is that so popular?
Why is it popular? Why is this topic so popular? Of what people actually go to
I think it all makes you fear death. I think it makes you fear death. I think that's the main thing I see. I think they're making society fear death, and that I mean, it's got so bad to the point now that people would think, if your uncle or your auntie or your mum or whatever dies, that they could come back as a demon, because there's just so many thousands of these movies now where these. Basically if you die, you come back and haunt, and it's like a demonic possessions and all of this sort of stuff. There's millions of movies being made on it now, and it's just getting bloodier and uglier.
I think they get some kind of thrill. They get some kind of thrill at like showing us the truth, and we don't even realize it or recognize it, and there's some kind of twisted, perverted thrill to get off of it.
One out of 6 people is employed by the medical system in the United States, indirectly or directly. And that is, every hospital to me is like an ongoing horror house of horrors, It's like if people can only see what's happening, it's just unbelievable. And I was thinking maybe these horror movies are an attempt to create an artificial contrast between the reality of the horror in hospitals and in our everyday life, our medically interpreted lives, in order to normalize.
Well, the more it's in your consciousness,
the medical horror, the
Yeah.
Yeah, it breaks
it's a
it down.
normalization
The more you
context.
see it on TV, exactly, it becomes normal. It's part of your normal everyday reality if you're seeing it on TV and
it's not as bad when you
Well, in the horror film, though, it's categorized as fiction. When the real vampires that work every day, they're called doctors.
Right. So true.
That's right.
So they create these fictional, crazy vampires and all that stuff. When it's really like.
Well, they created a character to show you what they're doing to you. I mean, they create a fictional character in a way to show you in what's being done to you. But people think it's a movie, so that but the reality between movies and the real world, or this so-called real world, is being so blurred now that nobody knows what's what. And we watch all these action movies and movies where everything's getting blown up and terrorists, and then you get these attacks or so-called attacks over there. So it's like it's that sort of thing that line's been blurred now, and as Wayne said,
and there are archetypes.
You don't think it's that bad because you've seen it so much.
Yeah, and then there are like archetypes and symbols that are being fed into your subconscious mind. You're reading all that on a subconscious level, and so I guess you more readily accept it. It bleeds through into your conscious.
That's what I think the news does, Wayne. That's very powerful. You look at the news and you laugh, but I was really watching it the other night, and I thought they're putting all this into people's minds. Everything. They're just programming you. They're programming you every night through that TV, through that news, on what to think, what to believe, everything, and the words they use, everything, the symbols, as you said, everything, the colours. I was just thinking the other day, you look at all the big main companies, like Shell, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, so many, I can't name them all. All the colours are bright red and yellow. And I haven't been able to, maybe you have, Wayne, worked out what that is. I know bright red is like an exciting, sort of excites you. It's an exciting color.
Yeah.
Maybe gets you. Yeah. And I don't know with the yellow, but I just noticed like we have Vegemite in Australia, which is this famous thing. And I noticed all these big globalist sort of, food.
The Shell logo is a logo of the rising sun. It's literally the sun.
That's on I'm on your website now. You see, it's the rising sun with a red around it. Yeah.
Jordan Maxwell actually wrote the company, and they said, it is the rising sun. I mean, you can kind of see the rays. There's like little lines that radiate.
I thought it was a shell.
Well, it is a shell too. It's in the shape of a shell, but that shell could tie in with Isis and Aphrodite and Venus, who she was born in the ocean on the foam, but on a shell. So I don't know for sure, but you do see a lot of shells, like back in the classical architecture and stuff like that. Like you go around on campus and universities and look at the buildings, and you'll see that shell design in there a lot.
Right. The shell is an ocean shell, fish shell, but it is also a sunrise or a sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hell,
at least in the case of the shell logo, it is. But the shell does show the little line. Even you look at a shell from the ocean, it does have those lines radiating out, right?
Right. Oh.
Yeah.
That is a powerful image, though. A rising sun is one of the most amazing images. Because I come from Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. The sun devil.
Before it was a polluted area back in the 50s, I would see the pure sunrise and pure sunset, and it will blow your mind. It is so amazing.
Yeah.
That's
right.
It's hard to believe you're in a low energy field or anything at that point. It is just amazing.
We still get that here, Jim, in the ocean. The mornings you go down. It's amazing. Yeah, I catch
That's right.
a few of them, like red dawns.
You took some photos.
Yeah, I got some. But it's any given day, if it's pretty clear, you can go down the beach and it comes up over the ocean.
I went to Phoenix one time for a business conference. I was there a week, and it was like 114 or 117, and we're like laying out by the pool, and it just felt like a furnace or an oven. I mean, it wasn't like humid or anything, and it wasn't that bad. It was just very hot.
Where is this?
It was in Phoenix, yeah.
Oh yeah, Phoenix. Phoenix, you have to you run from tree to tree.
Yeah,
to stay in the shade. It'll burn you, man.
Jeez. Yeah, 'cause it's in like a valley, right? And they have like mountains sort of around it, and it's like in a little
valley. It's sort of a valley. It's a very shallow valley. But when I was raised there from 1 year old, and I could handle the heat no problem. I thought it was normal, and I actually didn't like it when the air conditioners became vogue.
It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
It's hot here in Texas too, but nothing like that. I mean, I thought it was hot in Texas until I went to Phoenix, and wow.
Yeah. Well, it's always clear skies in Phoenix, and the sun pours down. It's one of the best places for solar energy.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, don't forget about Australia. Deserts. Yeah, we have these deserts, man. My goodness, you don't want to go there.
Right. Sometimes one time I took a walk in the desert, and I brought a gallon of water with me just to be safe, and I was only out for less than an hour, but I drank the entire gallon.
Yeah, full on, man.
By the time I got back, and I was thinking, man, if I didn't estimate that correctly, I would be like a potato chip in the desert.
You drink a lot before you left, too? Drink a lot of water before you left?
Jim?
With you, right? And you drink it. I mean, did you drink a lot of water before you went out, too? I guess we lost Jim.
All right, Wayne. Jim's gone AWOL. he's gone absolutely disconnected there. He's been zapped out of reality, out of existence.
Maybe he went home. He popped out. All this talk about good vibrations and frequencies, and he made it out.
Oh, he's just doing now. He's got no sound, so that's all right. He's got no sound there. Sound's gone missing. Give me a sec here. All right. All good now, Jim's there. We'll plug out now, Wayne, and I'll mention your website. Why not? And I'll put it up with a link as well. It's a great website. You put a lot of research up here. So it's trickedbythelight.com. Tricked by the Light: How Souls Are Programmed to Go to the Moon, Sun at Death, to be recycled as energy. A theory of life and death. How to win the game of life and escape the prison planet Earth, which is an illusionary matrix that we dream. Wayne Bush's website there. So as we always go, you've got movies, music, language, logos, aliens, light, moon, sun, religion, politics, science, Olympics, solutions, a mountain of research up there, Wayne. It's a big website, so it's really great. And are you continuing with the website, adding as you go? You just keep adding each week, little interviews you do.
I do sometimes. A lot of it
pretty
I'm
much
just
put it all up there.
Whenever I'm doing new shows a lot, so I'll just put the new research in the new shows. It's hard to keep up with all the new information I'm getting, and then the website just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So a lot of times it's getting more lazy lately and just putting it in the show transcripts.
Whacking in. I'll link it through to Jim as well, so Jim can have a little read on the movies and what we're going to have today, logos, movies, that sort of stuff. Your logos section is fantastic if anyone's interested in that as well, and all the logos around us and how it all works. It's a lot of work put into there. Jim, your website, of course, is Harvoa, HARVOA.org. Unprecedented environmental research, 50 human studies up there, and also DDT polio, virology versus toxicology. New book coming out soon on ultrasound, Jim. We're nearly there to plug the book.
Great.
Nearly there on the new ultrasound book? Fully released yet, or?
Oh, the new one, I tell you, the copy editing is always unexpectedly difficult. I do have people helping me, but it should be imminent, which I've been saying for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it'll be a shocking ultrasound book.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. I'll send that website through to Wayne as well.
Yeah,
that's
please.
through to you, Wayne, so you can
Thanks.
check out the book. I don't know if you get Kindle; it's available on Kindle, but yeah, great books on that as well. Anything you want to add, Wayne, before you go?
Just
Plug out.
if anybody wants to email me with any experiences or thoughts they have, my email address is waynejbush@gmail.com. That's WAYNE, the letter J, BUSH @gmail.com. I'd love to hear from people.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, buddy. It's always good to speak with you, and we might chat in again in a couple of weeks. I will email you to go through the new info that you have up there.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be doing a couple of shows with Mark Gray of Project Camelot TV, so that should be in a couple of weeks, and then it'll take a week probably for him to do some editing and get it up, but that'll be coming up too.
Does that go up on YouTube? Usually those shows? Not sure.
I think he's got his own channel. I don't know the website, but it's like Project Camelot TV, so I don't know if it's on YouTube or not.
Okay. Thanks for plugging in, and as well, Jim. We should be able to plug in again next weekend, Jim West.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And good meeting you, Wayne.
Yeah, Jim, nice talking with you. My dad's from New York, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll link you through Jim's email as well, Wayne, and his website along with that, so you can check out his work and vice versa.
Yeah.
And
thanks,
then we'll link up again like this and go through things. Very interesting talk. I think it'll be very interesting for folks out there. It was really good. Thanks a lot, Wayne, for your time and your research. You're a great man indeed, and enjoy your work very much. And I'll send this through when it's up tonight.
Great. I appreciate you letting me come back on the show and talking with you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Jim, and
see you guys later.
See you next weekend.
Right. My pleasure.